pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
On January 2nd, 2015, adequate notice of this meeting pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act has been furnished by inclusion in error in the annual scheduled meetings for 2015, which has been posted on the bulletin board at Borough Hall, filed with the Borough Clerk, faxed to the Our Town, the Record of the Community News and the County Street newspapers, and distributed to all persons offended requesting copies of same pursuant to said act. In case of an emergency or fire alarm, you must evacuate the building by using any of the exit doors in the room. They're immediately to my right, and the double doors at the rear of the room. Occupants must exit the building by using the staircase and not the elevator. This meeting is being recorded by both video and audio and may be rebroadcast.
Roll call.
Council President Borough.
Here.
Council members DeHere.
Here.
Eisenberg.
Here.
Maroney.
Here.
Messer.
Here.
Lindenau.
Here.
Borough Attorney Ronald Barrio.
Here.
Borough Administrator Roberta Stern.
Here.
Borough Clerk Jean Felizer is here.
Just before we get started tonight, I just want to mention that Maywood lost one of its own, Barbara Hillier. She passed away last Wednesday at the age of 84. She was the wife of former Mayor Frederick Hillier, mother-in-law to firefighter and fire prevention chief Thomas Tuttle, and grandmother to Assistant Chief Chris Tuttle. Barbara was a dedicated and active member of the vestry and congregation of St. Martin's Episcopal Church. She was devoted to her family, her faith, and friends, and as a former First Lady of Maywood, the flags in town were flown half-mast Monday in her honor. So if everyone would please just join me in a moment of silence. Thank you.
Okay, as everyone is aware, Mayor Padovano submitted a letter of resignation last Friday, I believe. He was being appointed to the Superior Court of the State of New Jersey. Pursuant to Title 19, the party of which he was a member, which is the Republican Party, the Municipal County Committee, has 15 days to meet to select 3 names to replace him in his position. They had a meeting last night, and the 3 names that they submitted are Councilman Frank Messer, Council President Adrian Fabre, Councilman Tom Lindenau. At this point, I would ask for a motion to nominate one of those 3 names.
It would be my honor to nominate Adrian Fabre for mayor. Seconded.
Are there any other nominations? Madam Clerk, I ask for a roll call.
DeHere.
Yes.
Eisenberg.
Yes.
Maroney.
Yes.
Messer.
Yes.
Lindenau.
Yes.
Fabre.
Abstain.
Congratulations, Mr. Mayor.
Jean, would you please administer the oath to the mayor to be?
You want to go down? Yes. Right away?
Yes, you can hold the Bible.
Repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Adrian Fabre,
Solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that you will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
that you bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same
and
to the governments established
to the governments established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state,
and in this state,
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that you will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
all
the duties of the office of
mayor
of the Borough of Maywood,
of the Borough of Maywood,
according to the best of your ability.
according to the best of my ability. So help me God.
Congratulations.
everybody.
There you go, bro.
If I might be indulged for just 1 second, I have something to say, as usual. As I step away as the council president and assume the position of mayor, there is a sense of sadness, but more so a determined resolve that I, along with my colleagues here, will continue on the path that we've been on for the last 3 years, and we will strive every day to make Maywood a better place to live than it was the day before. I do recognize how high the standard that's been set by the man who sat in this chair before me, and I will do everything in my power to live up to that standard. I just ask that you be patient with me when it comes to speaking up here in public, because public speaking is something that I've never really enjoyed. That's somewhat of a contradiction in terms, a politician who doesn't like to speak, I guess. And my job is, of course, if you didn't know, I'm a court stenographer, and my job is anything but speaking. So what I do is I sit at the end of the table and listen to people speak for 4 or 5 hours and take down what they say. And you know, what I do is I take down what people like Ron and Greg say. That's what I do for a living. Anyway, just be patient with me, please. And so I can look scholarly while I'm up here, I'll quote a line from Robert Frost where I would say, "We have promises to keep and miles to go before we sleep." And that is true up here. And lastly, and most importantly, I'd like to thank the 3 most important people in my life. My wife Jennifer and my 2 children, John and Ava. Without their continued support and encouragement, I would not be able to devote the time and attention that I've given here for the last 4 years. And they are my top 3 reasons for getting out of bed in the morning, and they make my life worth living, and they've made it possible for me to be here. Thank you, and let's continue the agenda. At this point, I would like to take a motion from someone, a nomination for council president, as my seat has been vacated.
I would like to nominate Frank Maroney for council president.
Second.
Roll call.
Tahir.
Yes.
Eisenberg.
Yes.
Maroney. Messer. Messer.
Yes.
Lindenau.
Yes.
Fedray.
Yes.
Well,
Oh, wait, I don't...
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, you got me too, I guess.
Just need to be paying attention, all right?
Moving on with the agenda, the first item on the agenda is Mr. Pliniak. Come on up, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Honorable Mayor and Council, Greg Pliniak, we've issued an engineer's report dated the 6th for tonight's meeting. The first item on the list is the Economic Recovery Program. Our office is working with Mr. Dario's office. There's some negotiations occurring with respect to the Hanjin property as it relates to them signing the easement agreement. Once that the negotiations are completed, the project can move forward accordingly. The second item on the list relates to the Spring Valley Road, East Hunter Avenue and West Fairmont Avenue parking lot. Our office has received a letter from the DOT. There's no remedial action with respect to the project required. Therefore, we're going to proceed with closeout as it relates to it municipally, and then move forward with DOT closeout, which would permit the borough to acquire the remainder of their 25% of the grant that's still outstanding. The next item on the list is the PSE&G project. There's nothing to report other than that project will begin in March of this year. The Maywood Avenue Streetscape project, our office understands that the borough administrator will be scheduling shortly some meetings with some of the businesses in the area to begin discussions as it relates to improvements along the frontages in that area. The West Pleasant Avenue traffic circles will proceed in the spring of this year when the weather is better than it is. And then there are a series of additional items listed within the engineer's report which relate to capital improvements, which include Oak Avenue and West Pleasant from West Pleasant Avenue to Parkway, the Central Avenue intersection, the decorative traffic signals, which were requested at last month's meeting, Coaches Park and Cleveland Field, some estimates as it relates to that, and then Elm Street and Grove Avenue, the specific intersection. Our office had prepared a series of estimates for the governing body's consideration for potential capital improvement and some bonding should the governing body choose to do so accordingly. Other items, the final two items relate to the 2014 recycling report. Our office provided information to the borough as it relates to that information. We also issued the 2014 FUSRAP sewer bill for the Army Corps site within the borough, so that bill can be issued accordingly. That concludes our report. I'd be glad to address any other questions or comments that the governing body had.
Any questions, Mr. Bonilla?
Well, I want to thank you for getting back to us on that question I raised last meeting regarding the PSE&G with the date. I thank you for that. When they do start up again, do we know what that next phase is going to encompass and how long it's going to be?
We know that it should encompass a couple months, and I believe they're going to continue on the eastern side of Central Avenue, but I'll get the exact scope and schedule in more detail so I can provide it to the governing body so that you'd understand and be able to alert any residents.
So it'll be additional excavation?
Correct.
The reason I ask is, I guess with winter coming on, they did what they did, they kind of patched everything up so it was usable. When I was approached by a resident on the east end of Central, and the paving is just, I guess, temporary, and we're finding a lot of people are zigzagging to avoid the really bad stuff, and in zigzagging, one day they had to pull a car out, the husband pulled the car out to let the wife out, and in the zigzagging their car got hit, because people were just trying to avoid someone. They came to me and they said, how long is this going to last?
Is there a particular location? We can contact PSE&G and make sure they repair that location immediately.
It's really that. It's not just, it's that whole end. I've seen people do it. I wouldn't lie to say I haven't done it myself.
I understand.
Try to find the smoothest part of the road to ride on, and in this case, they did clip their car.
I do know that in the spring that they are required, and I believe within their own bid documents, they're to pave one half of the roadway where the trench is located. So that will occur in the future, but if there are any particular locations, we'd be glad to discuss with PSE&G and have them address it immediately.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Greg, can you please speak to the situation that's going on with the four houses next to the church?
Sure, I'd be glad to. Our office was contacted by the borough as it relates to a drainage issue that's ongoing at that location. Our office will be issuing letters and enforcing and compelling the developer to address that location as a whole. The first step would be, though, to install a series of hay bales along the rear of the property as a temporary measure to protect the residents' property once the snow has melted and subsided. But there are substantial improvements that will need to occur as it relates to drainage, and again, we're going to compel the developer to address that.
Okay, can you just also speak, I know we spoke before about the trenches.
Sure. One option that could be considered by the developer, and they will propose it and design it, and we would check and review it, would be a planted berm, which would be maybe a 1-foot-high soil berm with plantings on top of it, arborvitaes, which would absorb some of the water. In addition would be a stone trench, which would be a 3x2 box with a pipe within it, which would capture the runoff, which would almost be a drain or an impediment to water running past that point. Also, at the same time, there's a substantial amount. I understand that the developer had planted the rear yard in December or November with the topsoil and seeding. None of that could have taken root with respect to the lawn surface, and for that reason you have a soil surface where water runs off very quickly. The plant life isn't absorbing it and pulling it out of the ground into the ground, and that's one of the reasons that I think you're seeing that at this point in time. So the three items that I mentioned, we'll address it, and we're going to compel the developer to make sure that they address this issue.
Okay. Anyone else? Greg, would you do me a favor and just stay in case...
I'd be glad to. I'd be glad to.
Appreciate that. Okay, proclamations and presentations, I don't believe we have any. Open the meeting to the public. Does anyone from the public wish to speak? Yes, sir, please come on up. State your name and address for the record, please.
That's it.
Sure.
My name is Peter Rossi, 350 Maywood Avenue, President of the Maywood Preservation Action Committee. The past few months I've been getting a little chatter, a lot of little notes about things, about what we were just talking about. I just wanted to thank you guys for helping us organize that block from the front. It looks very nice. We do have some issues. Have a few issues I want to bring up. I don't know, a lot of the members that were supposed to come can't find a place to park. The first two things I would like to give you guys is I have pictures from December to January. You could look at them. You guys could have them.
Excuse me, Mr. Rossi, could I recommend that you give those to the engineer?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, he has them as well?
Yeah, I did.
No.
The
borough
There was an
engineer.
engineer that came.
That came there last Thursday?
Last week,
Yes.
Well, I think this is just something.
Sure. I just want to make sure that he has
The
them as well.
main issue with these pictures are, if you look on the December pictures, looking to the church, you'll see the property go straight in the backyard of all the properties in the back of and you can see the church. And they repaved everything. And now you look, and the difference of a rain on that day to a rain right now, it's not a problem of putting a berm or adding more grass. What you could see clearly is the southern-eastern point of the old Demers property. If you take about a 70-foot radius, that's where all the water is laying. Whenever we had a real heavy rain, it rose a little bit, not on my properties, but it would go down in about an hour or two. Now it's about 2 or 3 days. So what has happened is the table has risen. So putting a couple of berms trying to prevent it from rolling in is not really the answer. I spoke to the engineer that came by the other day. They said they were going to look at it closer and try to figure it out. So they have all the pictures. That's something I don't know how to fix. But that has caused a quite... Well, it was actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7... It's about 8 houses directly which the water rises up on. The rest of them, I just get marshes in the back. Okay.
Can I interrupt you 1 second?
Yes.
Greg, do you know how many, what kind of tanks do they have there to grab this water? You know, we're talking about 500 gallons?
I understand there's 1,000-gallon tanks, but we had some questions that are going to be addressed, and we're going to compel the developer to provide some additional information as it relates to the tanks that they installed. One would include some information we'd like to gather as it relates to the groundwater table, to have them dig some test pits adjacent to the pits that they put in to ensure that they're not sitting in groundwater and not doing anything, that they're functioning correctly.
And if I might, our engineer is also going to have them prepare new topographic details that we don't have currently, which they will also be compelled to do, and that will be probably one of the first steps in this ongoing...
For the grading and...
Yeah, I agree with Ms. Stern, is that the first step will be to have them prepare an as-built survey of their rear yards and also the property, so that we understand whether or not they changed the grades from what they had originally been approved of with respect to the development. If they change the grades, we'll have to address our solution differently, but that's the first step. We'll be able to determine whether or not where they located the seepage pits on site, if they're sized adequately at that point in time based on the locations, and also the elevation of the groundwater table, and if the soil perks correctly. If it doesn't perk correctly, the systems that they originally installed may need to be enlarged. And again, we'll compel the developer to address it.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, there's a whole slope into that one corner.
Agreed, and
You guys
then,
have to-
yeah, we'll make sure once, the survey that they provide is going to illustrate that, and if it does illustrate that, we'll make sure that it's addressed.
Okay, very briefly then, I just want to go over the majority of the calls that I've gotten from members of the committee. And some of them can't make it here today, but if it's personal to them, they'll have to come on their own. But generally, talking about that water, the one thing that I've gotten a lot of calls about is all called the greenery, the bush. When we had the meetings here prior to building, they promised to keep a lot of the trees, which may have helped. But if they left the trees there and then raised the dirt over it, they would die. So that's one thing a lot of people say. All of a sudden, we're living in an area where the whole forest was taken away. We would like to see something back, what the guy promised us to try to do.
Mr. Ross, I don't mean to interrupt you. Mr. Ross, 1 second. Correct, that is a condition of the approval.
Correct. And then something we were also, arborvitae's also, and potentially some deciduous trees on site.
Okay, we also had, we never heard anything at the meetings when we were doing it, was the white fences that went up. We feel it's an eyesore, a lot of people don't like it. I don't know what we could do, let's ask the guy or talk to each group, each family that moves in, if they'd like to keep it that way. But we find that such a huge change for what it was, we're just bringing that up. I think it's an eyesore. The other thing, during the construction, we used the easement for some huge trucks driving up. Now, there was only really 3 houses using the right-of-way. 2 cars twice a day. It was paved. Right now, there is 2 huge valleys where the trucks went through, and they really disseminated that whole driveway going in, and they used the adjacent property to park their trucks on everything. So we would like that to look at that and see if there's just a little to fill in where their tracks are. These are huge trucks, also the huge tree cutters, and it's very easy to see that. I think the engineer that was there when they drove out, they saw the roads how about that. There was that. The other issue, the pictures I have didn't come out too good, but when they first took down the house and started working there, we noticed in the rain coming down Maywood Avenue, the front, would come to Magnolia, then cross the street to the west side, and then go down to the railroad. Now, it's almost like a river. The cars coming north on Maywood Avenue, when they get to Magnolia, the waters are splashing going onto that corner property. And of course, there's a lot of water going across Maywood Avenue there. Mayor Paterano said they were looking at putting a storm sewer someplace there.
Yeah, the county has a system that is designed. I don't know their schedule and when they intend to construct it, but they have a design, and at any point in time could award a contract.
Yeah, that's just those are the key issues that I've gotten from our members. Some of them that couldn't be here. If there are some here that would like to add to this, just reconfirm it. That's all I really have to say.
Thank you.
The main reason for coming was to get it on the agenda for this year, so when we come back, as soon as it's April or whatever, it's not forgotten.
Well, I can assure you that this will not be.
Okay, well, I see that. Okay, that's all. And if there's anyone else on this particular issue would like to say anything?
Well, how about...
Oh, okay.
Is there anybody else?
Took your job away, right?
Is there anybody else who would like to...
You just got the job. You want to keep it?
I'm Joe Bruno, and I live on Jager Avenue behind these homes.
Okay, Mr. Brown.
I also brought pictures because I wanted you guys to see what's going on. I'm glad that you're involved in this because we've been making phone calls for a long time and we're not getting an answer. I sent pictures to Greg, building inspector, and this started back in October. And basically they told us in October, don't worry about it, the project's not complete, you're jumping the gun, you know. Not Greg. Greg was nice, the building inspector was telling me this. And we had basically a flood in our backyard in October. Now, about a month ago, we had a day of rain. It was cold, the ground was frozen, and this is the result.
I think that's the picture that Mrs. Bruno gave me.
There's more than one, though.
I've seen this, but...
You can take those. Yeah, keep those.
Again, I'm glad that you're addressing it, but it's urgent. I mean, that water was within inches of my house. We didn't get any water in our basement, but who knows? That was not a big storm, you know. You get another Sandy, you get a nor'easter, you get something like that, God only knows what's going to happen. So I just wanted to make sure that this is of utmost importance to the town. Because, you know, between the building department and the builder itself, you know, somebody's got to be responsible for this. But the other question I had was the trenches that you said you were building. Where would that water go?
Yeah, again, this is something that we have to gather information before we propose those trenches. That's an option, but once we gather the topographic information of the site, then we'll determine what the ultimate solution would be. I will say as part of the ultimate solution will be that hedgerow to the back of the property, and the reason is that hedgerow will absorb a lot of the runoff, along with a lawn and turfed surface. But there does need to be some other infrastructure that needs to be addressed.
I can see grass and plants absorbing some, but not...
No, I'm not... I agree with
and I'm
that.
not looking to push it down the street to the neighbors.
No,
You know,
we wouldn't do that.
Resolved.
It would be something that would address the whole neighborhood, wouldn't push a problem to anybody else. This developer needs to address the impact of the runoff on their proproperty, and we'll make sure that it
That
occurs.
was also something else that you said about the developer. They issued COs on this. I would suggest no more COs get issued on this.
I feel the same. There was 2 COs issued.
Yeah, they
There's still
should
2
have
left.
been.
Well, at the time, there wasn't the storm.
There was.
If I- if I could
Mr.
just speak
Nature
to-
knew about
I
it because
think
we told him in October before the COs were issued.
We still have all kinds of remedies. We still have a pretty big
Yeah,
camera
I
that we
don't know the
can use.
legal remedies.
So, I mean, yes, 2 COs were issued, 2 are still outstanding, but there's still an awful lot we can do. This will be fixed.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Yes.
Please state your name and address for the record, sir.
Good evening. My name is Mark DeVerio. I reside at 21 East Magnolia Avenue
Okay.
and have a lovely view of the new stockades, or stockyards in our town, as I take my 3 meals out of the kitchen window, these white fences. You might recall, there was extensive meetings and difficult negotiations with this builder during much of 2013 in order to fashion a plan that would be acceptable to neighbors of the property and in accordance with township requirements. It was a very contentious process drawn out over 8 months and left many of us living adjacent or within eyesight of the property unhappy with the final outcome, but accepting of the overall plan, assuming that critical issues like water runoff, maintaining of existing trees and shrubs along the southern border for privacy, maintenance of the existing grade for the backyards of the property, architectural differentiation of the houses, and construction-related traffic were all adhered to by the builder. Sadly, his actions and those of the subcontractors have roiled all of us, reflecting his total disregard of some of the key elements agreed to at these council meetings. When I addressed some of these issues with the builder over the past several months, now this goes back when they were more active there, I was typically dissed and treated rudely. On one occasion, I was told I own the property, I can do whatever I want, when I brought up the grading issue. On 2 other occasions, I was told flat out, well, sue me, when I pointed out that he was doing what was not agreed to. Builder has a very pompous attitude, I'm afraid. We were assured by the mayor and council that this project would adhere to the principles agreed to when the project was given its approval, and that it would be closely monitored. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like that's been the case. The builder apparently feels he's had carte blanche to act as he sees fit, without fear of reprisal. I'm very disturbed by the lack of these attention to these critical issues, and I believe, as the prior speaker, Joe, had mentioned, that the council building inspector should refuse to issue COs on these last 2 houses until these problems are resolved.
Let me review the key issues that are bothering me and a lot of the other people. Peter touched on a lot of them. The water runoff is of paramount concern. As you may recall, I got up and spoke at every one of those 2013 council meetings most vociferously about water running off that property once it was regraded. I warned the council repeatedly there was a low spot on the Demarest property in that southeast corner.
You can take as long as you want to finish that. I just want to make a slight correction. It's not the mayor and council, it's the planning board. And that's not to pass the buck, because this is...
I know the mayor and the council were there, maybe they double up on the planning board, whatever the body was, but...
Yeah, it's not to pass the buck, but I just want to...
I know Greg was sitting over there, so, all right. That had been the situation with this low spot on that southeast corner for decades, the groundwater often remaining mushy for several days after a rainstorm. Several weeks ago, as Joe pointed out, there was a rainstorm, not a big one, but it didn't take long for that water to pond up again. This time it was all directed to the property on the southern border, as that level of dirt in the backyard of the new properties had been raised by my estimate 6 to 12 inches. You assured me, the council, the planning board, assured us that the proposed plan had the grading remained unchanged on the back of those properties. That's not even close to being in compliance. I also mentioned repeatedly at these meetings we have a low basement and have flooded in the past. Moving the water off the property to the south causes it to run down the common driveway, which is very close to our basement, raising the risk of flooding in our house significantly. And in fact, in that last storm, you could see the water running very rapidly down the common driveway for those three houses facing Maywood Avenue. In fact, it was so high, it rolled under the fence, and I had a pond in front of our garage, which even in Hurricane Sandy and other storms, we'd never witnessed before. We've been in that house since 1962. Also, in an effort to cut costs, the builder chose to bury large rocks from the front of the property, where the houses and driveways are located, to a large trench running parallel to the newly installed fence on the eastern border, rather than have them removed. However, the rocks were not fully buried and were covered with soil from that mammoth two-story pile of dirt that was built up in the backyard. That, in turn, was then spread and raised the backyard significantly. In yet another effort to cut costs, this builder removed soil from the front, where significant excavation occurred to the driveways, and diverted it to the backyards and piled it up. That, too, was spread over the backyards of the four properties, effectively raising the level significantly and removing that low area in the southeast corner where water had accumulated for decades. Now the backyards are so high that water runs off onto several of the adjacent properties. This is just the situation we did not want to happen, and I warned you about it last year's meetings. You all agreed loudly, or the planning board did, that that water would not leave the property. That's simply not the case. It runs off onto neighboring properties and results in huge lakes. In fact, the neighbor next door has to navigate through a lake to get off his driveway onto the common area. And of course, in cold weather, that freezes, and he could, because of the turn in his driveway, obviously slide into my garage, which sits right adjacent to that turn. Secondly, and related to the water runoff issue, is the failure of the builder to retain the trees and shrubs along that southern border that were well beyond the building envelope. I mentioned at several of those meetings and had reassurance from the builder in private conversations that they would not be cut down. The row of hedges and trees provided a natural border for privacy for several of us living south of the Demarest property. While a few of the trees admittedly were dead or diseased, most were in decent shape and not in any way near the construction. Furthermore, their root systems absorbed a lot of water that had flowed off that property. The removal of not only a few trees, but all of them, effectively removed the absorption benefit to that part of the property. There were probably 12 to 14 trees, most of substantial size. And the arborvitae you mentioned are not going to absorb much water. I have some other property.
I'm sorry.
They're not going to be that helpful. Furthermore, the builder reneged on his promise to the council and us that he would leave those trees alone. When I confronted him about cutting them down, when the tree service arrived, he simply stated it was his property, he can do whatever he wants, and that they would market better the property without the trees, and walked away muttering something, which I think was some sort of curse. And finally, this construction issue on the adjacent property was very significant. We had very heavy-duty equipment rolling by. We had dump trucks bringing more soil in, believe it or not, for that final grading. And it obviously, as Peter mentioned, caused significant damage to their driveway. So I think that overall, this builder has taken everybody for a ride. He's told people what they want to hear, but in reality, he's done what he wants to do. And I think I would wholeheartedly endorse not granting the COs for those final 2 houses. The tanks that they put in to retain water are located up closer to the house at a high end of the backyard, which then slopes down at a much higher rate than it used to. So I don't know how they're going to collect any water in that lower corner with tanks that are located physically very close to the houses, which I think were designed to catch gutter water coming down the downspouts. So, and burying boulders removes a lot of surface dirt area where water naturally would have been absorbed and gone down into the soil. Now you have rock, so it just disperses and is pushed off, not only into Joe's property, but onto Sam's, Pete's, and now apparently onto our driveway as well, without even having hurricanes and nor'easters involved. So it's a major problem. It's a major problem that needs to be addressed. I'm encouraged that you're going to be taking steps. I don't know, I'm not sure what the next step is. I was told, I think by the building inspector, some town engineer is supposed to come out and take some surveys amongst us, and we quantify some of these situations. But I think one of the key elements, topographical profile of what those backyards look like now relative to what they do. And I guarantee they're 6 to 18 inches higher than they were. I don't even need to have a survey to tell you that.
That is the plan. That's what our engineer has.
The project is not completed yet. They do not have COs for the other 2 properties.
Does the town hold a bond or some other leverage that would be used?
I don't know, the planning board attorney is not...
No, but the answer is that all those matters are going to be addressed in the next few weeks as part of this new work that we're doing, and a developer's agreement is being put together by the attorney for the planning board. So at the end of the day, there will be total coverage.
So should we be coming to council meetings? Should we go to planning board meetings?
I think,
how do we, as concerned neighbors...
You could either call me directly, and I'll be happy to let you know where we are, at what stage we're at. This started on our end because I met with Mrs. Bruno, who brought this to my attention on Thursday. That was the first I had heard about it. And since that time, we've taken the action that we are taking now to rectify it.
Okay.
I can tell you, if they're not in compliance now, which they appear not to be, they will be made to be in compliance, and the borough will use any and all measures that we see fit to make sure they are in compliance. So we are on this, I promise you that.
Great. Thank you.
I'm sure the planning board is as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Close meeting to the public.
There was one more.
Oh, I'm sorry. Please, come up, sir. Or I should say, come up, doctor.
I'm Stan Macklin, 326 Maywood Avenue.
Please, speak to me.
Stanley Macklin from 326 Maywood Avenue.
Thanks.
And I'm fortunate to be across the street from the project, but I can observe from my window. And one of the things that's clear to observation is the grade has changed tremendously since they started. I can see that hill floating right down towards Jaeger, which wasn't there before. I also saw the fact that they tore down all the trees they said they weren't going to tear down. I have compassion for my neighbors who are suffering with this. I also am not too attracted to the fence going down that slope, which is rather unattractive, but I'm lucky not to be there. Also, the flooding on Maywood Avenue is more than it was before, including hitting the corner of Magnolia, where I live. It doesn't come into it too badly, but it does come in.
Well, when the county does remediate that, that should take care of that at least.
I think that something needs to be done. I feel compassion for my neighbors who are suffering much more. I'm just an observer, but I live there. I've lived here for 55 years. I haven't seen anything like this before. So I just ask the planning board to do what they can to remedy the situation without being too easy on the offenders.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Anyone else? Okay, now close the meeting to the public. Where are we looking? We are at the public hearing on pending ordinances, adoption of ordinances, there are none. Correspondence and report of the borough clerk.
Okay. You will receive in your mailboxes today a letter
Thank you,
from Officer Kuczek regarding National Night Out, and if we could place that on the next agenda. Okay. And the elected officials training, Roberta spoke with our insurance risk manager. He plans to come out for our March 10th work session.
An hour before.
An hour before, and he's also going to be doing the annual report that evening. So if everybody could just, we get $250 reimbursement for the elected officials and administrators that attend. And if 6:30 on March 10th would be okay with everybody's schedule.
6:30. So an hour before the meeting, we show up an hour
Right,
before
we'll
the
just
meeting?
have to advertise for a special meeting, that's all.
Anyone have a problem with that? We okay with 6:30?
I may be away.
What's the situation if not all the...
Well, we get the money for each person who attends. And I'm not sure in the past if we've always gotten...
So then you'll just have to pay the borough the money. It'll cost us, and then we'll be fine. So
Take it out of our salary.
Good, great. By the way, does anybody have a problem with putting on the National Night Out on the next agenda?
Nope.
Okay.
Okay, and I think that's all I have this evening.
Thank you, Chief. Report of the administrator?
Yes, Mayor. The only thing I had this evening, you know that I think everyone's aware of the situation that we have down at the Peerless Firehouse, and the engineer and I, they had gone out to get new quotes strictly to remove the concrete slab and to fill the hole with this particular type of stone, the RCA stone, which will be compacted to 0 degrees, you know, surface-wise. As a temporary measure, the engineers will have to be on site to see exactly what is going on underneath there. So rather than, we had already had, once before we had gotten quotes to remove the slabs and replace them, but upon going to the site for visual inspections, it was apparent that that wasn't going to be the answer. So they will remove the concrete slabs from the site, fill the holes, see what's going on underneath, and then we will have to, at that time, make some determination of what we're going to do with the property. As we know, there are other sites on the Myron property in the parking lot that look like sinkholes. They've been made aware of the problem, and it's very possible when we do come up with a solution that we may have to obligate them to take action on their own property so that whatever the problem is doesn't exacerbate what's happening at Peerless Firehouse.
They've been made aware.
They've been made aware of what's going on. Once we dig this hole, we'll have a better idea, and then we'll have to involve them, because their property is adjacent, obviously, and if something's happening to us because of what's happening there, we may have to obligate them to take action on their property. But right now, we've got the bids. I think the low bid is $7,500, if I'm right, $7,500. So it's just a good way for us to find out what's going on. And that'll be taking place probably very soon. That's it, Mayor. Sorry.
Any questions for the
I have nothing
administrator? Okay, report of the agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I have a report I'd like to give in closed session, involves some litigation.
Okay. I actually have something in closed session also, that would be personnel. Committee reports. Councilmember DeGere.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Two things. Building Department, I met with the members of the Building Department and was checking up on the new software that we've got, and we're able to generate some pretty interesting reports. I asked them for a report for the month of January, and they issued 32 permits for a total of $14,186 in permit fees. So we're able to get a lot of information out of the Building Department now with this new software that we purchased. And there was also 2 letters of violations sent out, property violations, maintenance fines as well. From a finance standpoint, I have been in contact with Mr. Kuczek, and he is wrapping up the year end for 2014, and then he will be going very heavily into the budget.
Okay.
So that will be in the works next week. That's why I thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Councilperson Eisenberg.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I met with the tax assessor today, and he gave me 3 pages of tax appeals. Some of them are duplicates. There's one person with 16 tax appeals for several parcels as well as several years. There's a number that we've actually won in court, which is pretty good. We went to trial, and there's several that we have motions to dismiss on. We have 3 on the agenda tonight to settle, and I'm going to be going through the rest of them. Unfortunately, the spreadsheet doesn't have address, block, or lot, and it's sorted by date rather than grouping the common people together, the common appellants together. But I'm going to be going through the list and reviewing each of the tax appeals. I'm going to look at them from a semi-professional standpoint, because it's what I do, to see if there's some that just aren't worth fighting. We can just settle and get them out of here rather than costly trials. So that's it on the tax appeals. I met with the full-time first aid and custodial staff today, and they're going to be putting together a list/report for us of everything they do, itemized, and then I'm going to go over that with them in the coming weeks. Roberta and I went over a couple of things with the phone system at Borough Hall, disconnecting people and not routing to the right extensions, and the phone carrier is going to come in shortly and correct that. And we come to ordinances that need amending. And this one I'm going to credit Mrs. Formasano for bringing to my attention, along with Steve Mosca. Does anybody know what a hurdy-gurdy is? This is a hurdy-gurdy. It looks a little bit like a violin, and it's got a crank on it. And one of our ordinances is playing of musical instruments at night. No person shall play any hand organ, street organ, hurdy-gurdy, or other musical instrument in any street or public place after the hour of 9 p.m. and before the hour of 9 a.m., except with special permission granted by the mayor and council.
I don't know about you, but I will not be issuing any permission for hurdy-gurdy.
Well, if you take that off the books, who knows? They're all going to be coming out playing all hours of the day. It's because parades and stuff. They probably still have hurdy-gurdy, some bands, right?
The thing is, we have a myriad of noise ordinances. Pages and pages where noise comes into play. And some of them are better in that they deal with noise level. I don't think they go into decibels, and we're supposed to have a noise control officer, which I'm going to assume is the building inspector. I don't even know.
It would be.
And I don't think we have any equipment to test the noise level. So I'm going to be looking through all of these ordinances and seeing if we can kind of...
We actually had an incident, and we had, in fact, had to call out the county. They came and tested the decibels.
Okay. So I think some consolidation is needed with these multiple ordinances into an all-encompassing noise ordinance. Now, there's some good things in here, too. For example, it exempts a snow blower. Yeah, snow, you're going to make some noise, and people have to just tolerate it with the weather. There's something about church choirs singing too loud. And I know that was a recent incident with one of the churches. So anyway, I'm just going to be going over all that. That's my report. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Well, I can tell you that Greg, before he left a book of ordinance. The book of the ordinance is on the desk, and there's a lot of highlights. Some of the things that he felt should have been removed, and so maybe we should put together an ad hoc committee. I'll do that at the next meeting. Be on Ms. Seidenberg, and we'll discuss that, and we'll look to get rid of some of those archaic ordinances, and we'll get the mention of hurdy-gurdy out of our books for now and forever. Let's see. Now, thank you. Councilman Ron.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
The sound's changed. He's here tonight.
Can I stop you there for a second? Isn't he council president right now?
Oh, that's
We're out of
right.
order.
We're out of order.
Ooh.
All right.
Well, anyway, thank you everyone for voting me in as council president. I do appreciate that. I wanted to mention, before I read some of the things that I have to mention, read here tonight, is that I want to congratulate the DPW on a great job that they've been doing on the snow these past few snowstorms.
Thank you.
The streets have been looking great, and they've been really doing a fabulous job of clearing the snows from the corners. Recycling. There's an electronics shred event that's happening April 18th, Saturday, April 18th, and August 16th at Berkeley Community College. There's a household hazardous waste Saturday, March 7th, and again on the July 25th. Again, this is happening at the Bergen County Utilities Authority. There's also a hazardous waste happening at Bergen Community College on Sunday, April 26th, June 28th, Sunday, and October 18th, Sunday. The Recreation Department, I guess this would be you, so, flower show, that's you, Recycling classes, there are 3 recycling classes happening one in January, 2 in February, that I believe that Lisa Shuey will be attending. And there's one other thing, I just have a quick letter that I'd like to read, if you don't mind. Please. To the Maywood residents, yesterday I switched over to the Republican Party. When I was originally asked to run for office by Derek and the Democratic Party, I was undeclared. I voted for who I thought would be the best candidate. After 2+ years as a council member, I felt it was time to make a change. There are lots of reasons why I chose to switch. Suffice to say that I'm looking forward to the change. Former Mayor Greg Papadano instilled in me that we are all one council working for the good of the borough of Maywood. Greg never made me feel like an outsider, but more like part of the family. I will continue to volunteer with my fellow council members and work hard for the betterment of Maywood. I will always do what's fair and right for the people of Maywood, regardless of my party affiliation. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President Maloney. It seems that we both have titles that we're going to have to get used to, as we're saying, and I don't think it's necessary to say welcome because you've been here this whole time, but it's good to have you.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Messa. Councilman Messa.
Thank you. Yes. I am the other friend who's the councilor. Thank you very much. Quick report from the Recreation Department. Following up on my report of Youth Month, March being Youth Month in the Borough of Maywood. We currently have 16 applications for participants in the Youth Month program, which is up quite significantly from the past few years. And as Council President Roney has handed me, which I also brought a copy of, the Recreation Department is sponsoring a trip to the Philadelphia Flower Show. This is a trip that will be on Thursday, March 5th. Tickets are available for $53 each. Please see Lisa at the Recreation Department for tickets. Moving over to the Police Department. Chief Pegg has reported that the Police Department has been very busy during the past few weeks, handling numerous calls for service with the snow. One main point to bring out is the fact that the Borough ordinances call for vehicles to be kept off the streets when covered with snow, no matter what time of day. It is important to keep the roads clear so the DPW, who is doing a fantastic job, can continue to do their fantastic job and clear the roads as fast as possible. Numerous summonses were issued over the past few weeks, and if a vehicle is found to be a major problem, it will be impounded and it will be towed. Moving on to fire hydrants. They're always an issue during the snow, as Mayor Borough has reported in the past in his liaison report. Although many residents cleared them, a warning had to be issued to a resident recently who, instead of clearing the snow, piled more snow on top of the fire hydrants, covering it, and we would like to not see that happen in the borough. I also report that Sergeant Mary Tuchek has been working on securing a drug drop box for the borough. That is in process. And lastly, Chief Pegg
compiled a check of all the borough employees and volunteers who operate borough vehicles, and the Insurance Safety Committee will be happy to hear that he has found that every driver is in compliance with our insurance guidelines. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Massaro. Councilman Lindenau.
Thank you, Mayor, for Brett. Very briefly tonight, just wanted to let you know that the DPW is doing a fantastic job as far as I'm concerned. We're in much better shape than we were last year. The calcium chloride has been awesome, working with the salt. We are a little low on salt, but we have enough for anything that's coming this week. We are due about 200 tons, which hopefully will be here by the end of the week or early next week. We had a few minor breakdowns the last few storms, but nothing significant. And please keep the fire hydrants clear. That's all I have tonight, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Lindenau. I saw there was a news story about the county being delayed, and there's no, with the delivery, there's no set time, but any day now. So.
Right, they're spreading it a little thinner, but they are covering all the roads, and he's boosting up the calcium chloride onto the salt that he is spreading to try and stretch out what we do have. But he feels very confident that we're in great shape if anything comes our way.
Thank you. All right, council approval of the following. From Maywood Rotary Club Foundation.
Appointments.
Thank you very much. I'm going to start again. Council approval of the following. From Maywood Rotary Club Foundation, requesting permission to hold an off-premises 50/50 raffle at the Maywood Senior Recreation Center, 145 West Magnolia Avenue, Maywood, on March 14, 2015 at 9 p.m. From Maywood Chamber of Commerce, requesting permission to hold the annual street fair on Sunday, April 19, 2015, and Sunday, August 16, 2015, along West Pleasant Avenue. You know, guys, I'm sorry, I jumped.
That's all right. You can
Let's
finish
take
it.
the
and go
vote.
back.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion for the approval?
Motion for approval.
Second. Roll call.
Didier?
Yes.
Eisenberg?
Yes.
Maroni?
Yes.
Messer?
Yes.
Lindenau?
Yes.
Okay, appointments, approval of the following. Gary Newman as Department of Public Works Supervisor at an annual salary of $65,000, effective February 20th, 2015. Dylan Matus as a junior firefighter for the Maywood Fire Department, effective February 10th, 2015. Is there a move for the appointment? Motion for the appointment?
I make a motion. Second.
Roll call.
Didier?
Yes.
Eisenberg?
Yes.
Maroni?
Yes.
Messer?
Yes.
Lindenau?
Yes.
Okay, resolutions by title.
Resolution 4115, resolution approving settlement of a tax appeal in the Borough of Maywood, Bergen County, New Jersey. Resolution 4215, resolution approving settlement of a tax appeal in the Borough of Maywood, Bergen County, New Jersey. Resolution 4315, resolution approving settlement of a tax appeal in the Borough of Maywood, Bergen County, New Jersey. Resolution 4415, resolution approving amending the agreement for Roberta Stern, Borough Administrator in the Borough of Maywood, Bergen County, New Jersey. Resolution 4515, resolution approving the service contract with Spectrotel Holdings LLC in the Borough of Maywood, Bergen County, New Jersey. Resolution 4615, resolution approving the service contract with George A. Cotine Associates and Alan Rado Consultants in the Borough of Maywood, Bergen County, New Jersey. Resolution 4715, resolution authorizing change order number 3 for the East Hunter Avenue and Spring Valley Road project.
Is there a motion for the adoption?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion, just for the benefit of the public, as for the 3 tax appeals, these were appeals that went to the tax court, and we're really just memorializing what was done in the court of law. So the council members are just essentially formalizing this. It did go
What the court
before,
stipulated.
Judge Andrusini and Atkinson.
Thank you. Roll call?
Didier?
Yes.
Eisenberg?
Yes.
Maroni?
Yes.
Messer?
Yes.
Lindenau?
Yes.
Introduction of ordinances, there are none. New business. Old business. Miscellaneous business. We have closed session?
We do.
No trivia?
I will tell you, please.
A joke is not a joke?
No, let's just go with, please read Ed Kaminsky's book. This being the 121st anniversary.
Is there a motion for close?
For personnel?
Yes.
And for
Litigation.
Second.
Is there a motion to go with close?
Yes.
Second. Be resolved by the Mayor and Council.
All in favor?
I'm sorry.
All in favor?
Not right now, so
We're in the
we'll-
middle. Aye. Yes.
I'm sorry, I jumped you there, Gene. Be resolved, Mayor and Council, Borough of Maywood, pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meeting Act, the Mayor and Council meet in closed session to discuss the following subject matters: litigation and personnel. Be further resolved as precisely determined this time, the discussion conducted in said closed session can be disclosed to the public upon taking final action thereon, provided disclosure should not violate the attorney-client privilege or constitute an invasion of privacy. Be it further resolved, the Mayor and Council, Borough of Maywood do not envision they will return to open session at this meeting, but reserve the right to do so.
Ron.
Never